Day 502. Today there is a lot of news from the Avdiivka direction. Here, over the last several weeks, Ukrainians took advantage of the decreased focus of the Russian forces on this region and conducted a series of counterattacks. The first axis of Ukrainian advance became Krasnohorivka. The main goal of this attack was to clear the tree lines in front of Terrikon and set conditions for the potential development of the counterattack, undermining Russian positions in Krasnohorivka. The counterattack was successful and Ukrainians advanced by up to 1 kilometer. The last storming operation involved taking a Russian strongpoint right near the eastern edge of the reservoir. The assault was conducted early in the morning and the goal was to get close to the Russian fortification undetected. The closer the Ukrainians got, the higher became the risk of being detected, and eventually Russians noticed the movement and started fighting back, fixing Ukrainian troops in the tree line. Ukrainian artillery immediately responded to this development by suppressing the Russian fire and allowing Ukrainians to cut the remaining distance and enter the trenches. After that, Ukrainian forces took some time to regroup. Ukrainian commanders identified an opportunity in the southern part of the region and decided to recapture several positions in front of Opytne, while Russian defenses here were weak. The operation was also successful and Ukrainians got close to the outskirts of Opytne. Ukrainian commanders tried to pull off the same stunt in front of Vodiane when Russians suddenly hit them from the opposite direction. Russian forces noticed the deterioration of the situation and an especially dangerous for them development of the Ukrainian bridgehead near Vesele, and decided to take advantage of the fact that Ukrainians moved their attention away to the southern part of the region by conducting a massive counterattack. Ukrainian commanders reported that Russian forces used 21 armored vehicles of various types. Judging by the video, Russians deployed at least 3 assault units, each consisting of 1 or 2 tanks and 4 or 5 armored fighting vehicles. The tanks advanced first and tried to suppress Ukrainian fire while simultaneously undermining and demolishing the fortifications that the Ukrainians had just recaptured. Unfortunately for Russians, the Ukrainian 110th Mechanized Brigade never left their positions. Ukrainians unleashed artillery fire and also engaged the most skilled drone operators to target Russian vehicles. As a result, one by one, Russian tanks and armored fighting vehicles got destroyed and Russians lost approximately 200 men killed in action. Other graphic footage that I will not show in this video captured the moments when abandoned, wounded Russian soldiers in the field were killing themselves after the battle. This was the most disastrous Russian attack since Volodar. The only difference is that this time, Russians did not advance even an inch. In the meantime, in order to indirectly address the speculations of the removal of the Russian chief of the General Staff Gerasimov from the position of the commander of the so-called special military operation, Gerasimov conducted a meeting with the main topic, the war in Ukraine. However, instead of dispelling all doubts about the intactness of the Russian Ministry of Defense, it gave rise to even more speculations. People noticed that Russian Air Force was represented by Avzalov instead of Surovikin, and it's been widely speculated that Surovikin was dealing with charges of treason because he secretly supported the Wagner coup. This is very bad news for the Russians because Surovikin was one of the best Russian commanders. If you still remember, Surovikin was appointed to be the commander of the so-called special military operation right when the front line started collapsing during the Ukrainian counteroffensive operations in the Kharkiv and Kherson regions. He was basically made the captain of the sinking ship and he was supposed to take the blame for everything. However, he stopped the collapse of the front line in the Luhansk region and started building an extensive defense line in the south, which Ukrainians are dealing with right now. When the Russian Ministry of Defense saw that the situation stabilized, Gerasimov assumed the top position while putting Surovikin in charge of just Air Force. And now we saw that Air Force was represented by Avzalov, not Surovikin. The continuous disposal of competent leaders inside the Russian army and the promotion of less competent bureaucrats is very good news for Ukrainians. If you're against the invasion of Ukraine and you want to support the work that I'm doing, consider making a purchase in the online store, UA Supporter. Here you can find a lot of products with Ukrainian symbols to not only show support for this channel, but also for Ukraine. The link to the online store is in the description. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next report.